I'm seeing a lot of guys punch out looking.
Okay.
On fastballs.
Okay.
Away.
All right.
In circles.
I get it that sometimes they throw the wave fastball.
Sure.
And he hits his spot because the guy's been commanding the outside corner. He's been dialing it in all day. The umpire gets in a habit of pulling the strike.
Sure.
So boom, we pop the mitt, it's this far off the dish, but the catcher didn't move. Quickly, no frame job, pop it, get rid of it, umpire sees it, hit the mitt, punches him out.
Contestants, contestants,
All right, I understand that one. There's nothing you can do about that. It's part of the game. Like, tip your hat. The guy worked, had a good pitch sequence and popped the outside corner. If they run the fastball inside on you, tip your hat, go back. I get it. 2 strikes. We're working a little later, letting the ball travel. We'll fight off good pitches. We changed our. It's no longer double left center gap or big sacrifice fly. So we got to put the ball in play somewhere.
Right.
I get it. So what gets me though is that fastball that isn't a wave. It's a legitimate strike on the outside corner. And I'm watching these kids get fooled by it. And I think that's because these guys are, with 2 strikes, start sitting off speed. And I don't agree with that. I don't think we ever sit off speed for that reason. I mean, as we get older, yeah, sure, you will see Manny Ramirez or, he may go 0 for when he was back when Manny
Who's
played.
that?
Yeah,
These kids are
back Manny, I know this. 10 and 11-year-olds don't need to worry about that. For me, we're always going to look fastball, and we'll adjust to the off speed, especially at these young ages. But what gets me is we just cannot let, especially because we're working later, we can't let the fastball away beat us. Not with 2 strikes.
Well, and I think this is an important point we've been talking about a lot, because it's, for most of these kids, it's early season for them, right? Especially in the South. So for me, I'm looking at situational hitting as a coach, but I'm also looking at approach and the types of swings they're taking. So I'm accepting more strikeouts early in the summer as long as the at-bats and the intent and the approach is good, right?
Sure.
And so there's times where, maybe a kid strikes out with a runner on third and less than 2 outs, but he's taken 3 really good swings, and especially if he gets 2 strikes, I see him actually working a little bit later and trying to hit the ball the other way, and maybe he just misses it, but it was my 3-hole hitter.
That's fine.
And he took a great swing. I know that his approach and his, in his swing will improve, but in the moment, maybe it was a failure, but I think that down the line in 6 weeks will be a double in the right center gap.
No doubt.
And so instead of having him asking my 3-hole hitter to, hit a little dribbler to the second baseman, I may be more okay early in the season with him taking his good normal swings with the right approach and the good swing and maybe not succeeding. I think my 3-hole hitter, or anybody's 3-hole hitter, if they really need to, can put the ball in play. I'm looking short term, but I'm also looking long term, because I don't want him in a big situation with 2 outs and a runner at third in the World Series to be taking not good swings. I'd rather him take the good swings now, and that way he knows he can get the timing and make sure that his path and all that is good. But I don't want him automatically in the first tournament of the week going into defensive mode Now, maybe if it's a pinch hitter or something like that, or it's a championship game, there's different scenarios where that may play a little bit differently. But early in the season, I want my hitters hitting, right? We don't even bunt that much because I want my hitters swinging.
That's the key there. Swinging.
Right.
Swinging. We cannot watch heaters go by outside. We have 4 strikes. I understand, like, mom and dad are behind the dish. They'll see the balls off the dish, and it was that far. Like, all right, I get it. You tip your hat. When it shows up there, we just can't get fooled. You can't get punched out. I mean, all right, the guy on the mound is a thoroughbred, and he's throwing aspirin in there. I mean, he spots one up on your kneecaps, a half inch off the black. All right, we weren't hitting. Let me tell you what, you weren't hitting it anyway. Go take a seat.
Right.
And guess what? And look, don't be mad, buddy. I wasn't going to hit it either. I'll go take a seat with you.
Right.
You know what I mean? But
Exactly.
This is mediocre pitching. I'm watching guys take fastballs away, and I don't think we have to be taking our hacks. You got to be taking your hacks. If you want to stay in your approach, there are guys, I tell them, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Hey, you don't have your 2-strike approach is like it's what you do with no strikes, with 1 strike on 2-0 count. That is your approach.
Right.
And so that does change from player to player. You just said something about pinch hitting, a little off a tangent here. We're talking about 2-strike hitting, talking about pinch hitting. A good friend of mine, his name is Doug DeVore, played a little bit in the big leagues, Arizona Diamondbacks. And I asked him, because he said his role for about a season was he would come in and pinch hit. And I said, how hard is that to sit on the bench all game and get the call? And he goes, it's tough. It's really tough. And I figured out how to get okay at it. You just treat every pitch like it's a 2-strike. Seeing how that approach changed, he goes, I'd widen up a little bit. There was no, because I'm coming into the game in the 7th, 8th, or 9th. Have you guys seen the big league pitchers for the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning? Is there anybody under 98? They're throwing missiles in there with just wipe out breaking balls. These guys are unhittable. And he's saying you treat everything like it's a 2-strike. I get in there 2 strikes. Right. I start the count. I'm 0-2.
I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. The biggest thing from a coaching standpoint, and this is what Joe was talking about at the beginning, is when you can tell a young hitter is guessing, right? That's the telltale sign of there could potentially be problems down the line. Because if they are having some struggles and then they start guessing, I always tell my guys at 10, 11, 12, 13, you're probably going to guess wrong, right? First off, most of the kids should be throwing fastballs anyway. So when I look at my pitcher statistics, it's vastly more fastballs than it is anything else off speed. So if you're going to guess, you should always guess fastball. And then you actually have a chance to hit the curveball. If you guess curveball and the guy's throwing hard, you have no chance of catching up to the fastball if he's got a good fastball. So you have 0 chance. If you guess fastball and he throws curveball, you still have a chance because it's a slower pitch. So you've got to think about it in a percentage, aspect, which is if you want to go with the higher percentage play, they're probably going to throw fastballs anyway. So if you're going to guess fastball. For youth hitters, you got to stay on the fastball. Now, if you come across the one coach or 2 coaches a summer or pitcher, parent, whatever it is, that the kid throws 94% curveballs, okay, that's different, right? Or change-ups, that's a little bit different. Or his fastball is super slow, and there's no way he could possibly throw it by you. And everybody's out in front. I tell my hitters, hey, guys, work a little bit later. Pretend like you're playing home run derby in the backyard because it's going to be that slow. And chances are you will still probably pull it if you wait as long as you can. And that happens most of the case. So you have to put something in a youth player that he's used to hearing, which is they're all playing wiffle ball home run derby or tennis balls or something like that. And they're used to that. Just, you can see them sometimes. They swing differently from that approach than when they get in the cage. And I know that can be a point of frustration for a lot of parents. I hear a lot. Like when he plays with his older brother, he plays differently. Or when he's playing with the kids in the neighborhood, he's the best player. He's hitting home runs. I'm like, well, he's relaxed. There's no pressure. he can fully, there's a lot of different variables that go once you get into an organized sport versus playing, in the neighborhood. And so I love as a coach at a younger age, sometimes being able to like, hey, pretend like you're playing home run derby against your buddies in the backyard. And it gives them the visualization of like, oh, that's what waiting is, right? Or that's what working later is I've got to literally treat it like it's somebody's floating one in there as a softball. And here's the thing about it. The better the hitter, the better the division they play in, their hands are always so much faster than they think. Always. And so sometimes they feel like they waited till it went in the catcher's mitt and they still hit it a foot out in front of their body or out in front of the plate. And so hitting is tough, right? And so the more pictures you can paint for your hitters, the better. And the more percentages you can give them that will work in their favor, the better for them too. You want to try and put them in a position to succeed, right? And the other thing that this usually rolls into with parents and players and game changer and all that sort of stuff is, well, where did they hit in the lineup, right? There's always like you have a lineup. You have to bat them in a lineup. You can't keep. It's not like basketball or football where if the running back is the best player, you just keep handing them the ball. If your point guard is the best guy on the team, or you have a big man that's bigger than everybody else and dominant. In those sports, you can just feed them the ball. Baseball, that guy only comes up once every however many you're batting, right? 9, 10, 11 guys. So that's something to think about. The other thing too is, and all coaches will do this, or at least good coaches will do this, is they will pitch different parts of the lineup differently, right? Technically, your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hitters should be your best hitters. They're up there because they get the lead, they get to hit early in the game, and the lineup flips over to them more often, so they get the most at bats, right? It doesn't always work like that. Is the bottom of the lineup important? Absolutely. Right? It's 100% important. But if I'm pitching a player in the 9-hole, mostly fastballs, no off-speed stuff, assuming he's not quite as good as the 3 or 4-hole hitter, he can't do as much damage, right? Or maybe he's not as accurate or statistically as high as that player. And he gets hits in the 9-hole, but then I move him into the 2-hole, right? As a parent, you've got to realize, and as a player, he's got to realize he's about to get pitched a whole lot different than he was in 9-hole.
Absolutely.
So a lot of times there's this balancing act as a coach of, putting the top most successful players at the top because they're going to face the toughest pitching. And it happens a lot where a guy gets a couple of hits and you move him up and say, hey, let's give him a chance in 3, 4-hole, 5-hole. And then all of a sudden he gets devoured for a weekend and his confidence just goes in the tank, right? And you move him back and then he may or may not get it back. And so a lot of coaches will make those decisions based off of the amount of time they spend with the players, the mental makeup, how much awareness the player have, what kind of skill sets they have, right? And how they're performing in practice and what the coach thinks, not just in the moment will be the best thing, but down the line will be the best thing for the team and for that player. Because it's easy to go, oh, well, Billy got 3 hits this weekend and, Sam, who was batting 2-hole, only had 2 hits. And, why is Billy not there? And then there's what some parents and some other coaches even don't see is, did you see the pitch sequences that Sam faced in the 2-hole and the amount of pressure that he faced and the amount of quality of pitches and the way the coach pitched him? A lot of times you don't see that because the game's moving so fast. And even me as a parent, a lot of times is, I'm more focused on my child, right, than I am on the other players. So I'm not seeing all the other mistakes that they make. I'm not seeing the fact that maybe he faced the toughest pitching or a tougher sequence. I don't necessarily recognize that because I'm seeing, well, when does my son come up? When does my, do I have time to go to the bathroom before he comes up? So I don't necessarily see every pitch like a coach should and will, which is we're looking at every individual pitch in sequence the whole game to decide what is the best chance for our, the kids to succeed and the team to win, short term and long term.
I'll be honest, I quit listening like halfway
Good.
through you.
I'm glad. What
Okay.
time is it? Tell Terry we're at it ourselves.
12:40. I was trying to stay in and stay in with you, but my phone started going off.
Yeah, you're important.
Today's episode of Riot Sports Daily,
Yeah, I mean,
we
we
talk
gotta-
about Fortnite.
Yeah, we talking.